right.
I was really hoping that was going to spill over into the show.
You were hoping, but sometimes it just doesn't.
I'm more inclined to look into this and report back to you.
I don't know if we look into it. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Erin Campbell.
Hey, I'm home.
Reuben Bressler.
Hey, am I centered?
Oh, yeah, am I centered? You let me... I saw what you did to me last week.
Got through the whole hour preview show.
You had to run your bit
instead
of wondering if you're centered.
I did, and it was a hilarious bit, and then we didn't get it on the air, which I'm very disappointed in.
It was a fine bit.
I was just struggling to stay online. I was so embarrassed.
Wow. So a lot of crazy stuff happened. The Pro Tour happened this week. Which is pretty awesome. You were totally there, and we're definitely going to talk about it. But first, we want to talk about a giveaway, because who doesn't like free stuff? And we're going to give away a really good one this week. We're going to give away a set of Explorers of Ixalan. That's a $65 MSRP, 4 decks, a whole bunch of awesome reprints, something like $130 MSRP worth of value in that thing. Yeah. And I'm posting the link to Twitch. Reuben's going to help me post a link to YouTube. The link's going to be tweeted out on the 15-minute mark on our Magic Mike's Cast Twitter. I already have that set ready to go. So you guys get in there, enter. I want to give away a super awesome set. Because of Wizards reasons, I can't send it overseas, but I'll give you a gift certificate if you win and you're not in the U.S. But
it is ironic that we cannot traverse the ocean to deliver you Explorers of Ixalan.
Jesus.
The irony is thick. It's right there. But
it's vast, like the ocean. Hey, I'll be here all night. All right.
Oh,
vast, you mean unlike your hairline?
Come on, please.
Wow.
That's
so brutal.
I also needed to know if it was cut off. I need to scoot up so that you can't.
Right, because we're not totally centered and stuff. Okay. That said, that is our giveaway for this week, so enter for that. Should be awesome. Our first pick.
There's some darn good stuff in this set.
They revealed the deck lists, and we'll talk about Explorers of Ixalan here in just a little bit. That said, we got to talk about the first pick, and the first pick has to be the Pro Tour. Mm-hmm. The Pro Tour that didn't happen 2 weeks after the set release, where you often have them sick brews. I don't think there was a whole lot of brewing going on. There was a whole lot of, hey, do you remember that God Pharaoh's Gift exists? I think that was a lot of what was going on. Because Pascal Maynard he rocked it. Yeah. All the way to the finals.
Yeah.
But we ourselves, we had a little sort of fantasy team going. We had a PT draft. There were some results from that PT draft. I'm bringing them up on the screen right now, which just so happens to put me at the very top of it with 270 points. Erin in second place at 259, and Reuben with 232.
Right.
That's
match points. That's including the match points for your team.
Right.
If you narrow it down to team points, you still won. It just the numbers aren't so massive. But yeah, you still quite handily defeated everybody. And I came in third place. I was last.
For I think the first time in one of these.
Might have been the first time. I don't recall.
You usually win them. Let's put it that way. And
if I was in last before, I've blocked it out of my memory because I'm so ashamed of it. So ashamed.
Well, it's weird because unfortunately Jerry didn't have a great event this go around, but Huey Jensen. I tune into coverage and I hear that world champion Huey Jensen is 1-4, and I'm like, oh God, and I'm like, well, there went that PT pick, unfortunately. And then the next thing I know, I see this rundown, and I'm like, whoa 33 points. He went 11-5. He went like literal nonstop winning, like 10-0 or whatever, all the way to the end.
Pretty darn good, yeah.
That's amazing. That's some Huey Jensen goodness.
Absolutely.
And that's not unusual for him. He's known for sort of somebody had made a comment on Twitter that was saying something to the effect of like, Huey is better when he's in a corner like that or when he's on the downswing. And this isn't the first time I think he's had a massive streak like this. And to go from 1-4 to 11-4 to 11-5, that is phenomenal. And just nobody does it like Huey does.
That was really incredible. So, and I can't not bring it up because I bring it up because I care. Okay, I bring it up because I care. I'm going to bring up the image of Seth holding his trophy. Okay, now you tell me if him trying to hold this trophy by the base in just the right way is better than him holding a cup, like an actual tournament.
Those trophies.
I hate them. I seethe at the mouth, like just with the acrylic thing and the swooshy thing. I don't know why we need swooshy things. I like cups. People like cups. They understand cups. They're very classy. I like the classiness. You know what I'm saying? I like the classiness. We have been arguing for years that they got a dress code, and they finally figured out a dress code.
Well,
mostly for the team thing.
I still saw a lot of flip-flops and a lot of basketball shorts at this event, let me tell you.
Well, to be fair, you had boots on the ground, not flip-flops on the ground. You had boots on the ground, and you were able to see under the feet under the table.
Yeah.
So most of us can't see the basketball shorts, and the high tops. But from what we could see from the midsection up, what was on coverage, they had figured it out for a good portion of the clientele.
Oh, and they also very subtly got rid of the King of the Hill thing. Thank you, Wizards. Seriously, I hated that.
It's a good experiment.
I'm glad I want them to try things. I want them to try things, but they ran it for like 4 or 5 Pro Tours, and it's like, I just, when random dude gets a good run, I'm happy for that dude, but I don't really care. I much rather see monster personality versus monster personality, and they do that now, and that's great, and they can blame it on the team stuff if they want to for that change. Don't care, just happy it happened. Now, Aaron.
Back to the trophy real quick. I've always defended this trophy. A couple things at play here. First of all, that's just Seth's face, man. He's trying to make it. You were like, oh, he's making an awkward face. That's just the way he looks. All right. I've seen Seth make that face for every Grand Prix that he's won as well. Where he's just like.
I'm not trying to say he's in pain or he's feeling. I'm saying that just his stance in and of itself of trying to hold the thing the way to showcase the trophy thing. I feel that is not as good or as impactful as holding said cup.
And I can appreciate that a cup is a good trophy, but it's not like other, events in sports don't have, weird, like you get the Wimbledon plate.
The Wimbledon plate, which is also really odd.
Also very awkward. But look, I've always defended the acrylic Planeswalker symbol giving you the middle finger trophy. All right, I've always been on team weird swoosh. Team
thing. Weird swoosh. There you go. Hashtag team weird swoosh. I also
wouldn't be objecting to getting rid of it, but again, this is an experiment that I'm happy that they are attempting to try to be unique and different. All right, I'm okay with it.
I want it to just be a nice, quiet change. The next Pro Tour has a nice, sweet cup like they used to have. No one says anything about it. I won't even rub their face in it. I'll just let it happen. I'll let it happen, and I'll love it. Aaron, now you got to attend not just as a spectator on this Pro Tour. You were in the trenches. Where I have been, I have seen the back of the curtain behind the scenes.
I've been there, man, and
it's fun and it's really exciting. And there's just stuff that even you can't talk about. That things that happened. Now tell me if that is correct. Could you tell me there's?
I'm under the impression that I could talk about most things. I don't think I saw anything that was completely off limits.
That's good.
We'll find out in any case.
Yeah. When we all get little red dots in the middle of our forehead and get taken out by military snipers in the middle of our podcast, we'll find out if we can talk about this stuff.
Like The Handmaid's Tale, there's just going to be an unmarked black van that just comes to my house and just prods me a couple times. But yeah, I was there as a community manager for Card Hoarder and Card Hoarder Brazil. I was doing coverage of the event. I was live tweeting. I was taking pictures. I was doing interviews. And it was me. There was a young man named Keith who was doing coverage for the First Strike podcast team and then for the face-to-face team. So he was the Canadian guy, as we dubbed him. He was very lovely. And then Sam Tang from Kitchen Table Podcast and TJ Rogers, the streamer, were there doing coverage for the Team MGG guys, Team Sun and Moon. And then there was a Japanese contingent. I don't think they were there for Haruruya. I saw them taking pictures of other Japanese players, but not Haruruya. I might be wrong. But we were the ones sort of covering the event, and we all formed this nice camaraderie. And it was really neat to sort of see how the sausage is made and to see how, Wizards is trying to innovate. one of the issues that we ran up against, interestingly enough, was on Saturday. So on Friday, we were allowed to go anywhere we wanted to, specifically the tournament area. There were these big signs saying that you couldn't cross the ropes unless you were press or you worked with Wizards. And so we were going in between the rows and taking pictures and things like that. Saturday, we got there and the signs were gone and we were told we couldn't go there. And we were like, what do you mean? Like, if we're just sort of on the fringe, you can't take pictures that way. You can't get those good shots. And we were like, what happened? And the woman from Wizards goes, oh, players complained because you took pictures of them. Now, the problem and the thing is, though, I chalk that up to sort of being the growing pains of what we're trying to do. There are some people who don't understand that we're trying to make this a thing. We're trying to make this, dare we say, an esport. We're trying to make this an event. And so I don't think they meant anything malicious by it. But, there were those players that were like, there was a girl with a camera. What's she doing? Why is she here? And, right. I think there's sort of those growing pains that these guys need to understand that this is a thing now. Like, there are people doing coverage. We are here to take your pictures. We are here to tweet about you. And it was interesting seeing the players that were hip to that and seeing the players that were totally uncomfortable with that. And there were a lot of things that we learned, as to which people we knew we could put a camera on, which people had the charisma, which people were better off with just text coverage because they're not going to give you anything. And to Wizards' credit, they were very friendly with us. They gave us Wi-Fi to use. We got free water bottles. We got the nice little commemorative water bottles and things like that. So it was definitely a lot of fun. It was exhausting. It was a great learning experience. My superiors were very happy with the work that I did, so I will be going to Spain in February and doing more coverage with better equipment. Nice. And it was just a great experience. I think the most memorable for me is we got to go to dinner after Seth won his Pro Tour, and his team was there. Mm-hmm. And we were, all the content people were on this side of the restaurant and the pros were on this side. And then Seth walks in, his team starts cheering, we start cheering, and then eventually the whole restaurant cheered for him. Good. And so that was a really awesome moment and he was very taken aback by that. So it was a really, really good time.
That's awesome. So to be clear, after this player complaint thing, did you ever get back into that area?
Yeah. So what we ended up doing is we ended up petitioning. So we found our sort of go-to person or our spokeswoman with Wizards, and we had asked her why we weren't allowed in, and she told us what the issue was, and then we basically had to promise not to interrupt people. So normally we would ask people to look over, smile, whatever, and we just had to sort of commit to moving more silently and not bothering people. And once we all pinky swore not to do that, the signs were replaced and we were allowed to go back in. But again, there was that there were just some players that didn't understand. They were like, who are these people? Why do they have microphones? Why are they here? And, nobody really knew how to address that feedback of, oh, this is a thing now. And so going forward, I think that's something people will have to get used to, is how we're trying to legitimize this whole thing.
Well, I mean, the first thing they do is sign away all of their rights. Like, they
I was just going to say that.
The first thing.
Yeah.
You literally can't play unless you sign away all of your rights to Wizards to use your likeness.
I understand it to some degree. It's Wizards definitely wants to make this the one thing I was also very surprised by is how comfortable this all is. If I had my way, I would only want to play at the Pro Tour because you get space, it's quiet, the GPs are kind of mad in comparison. You have 2,000 people hustle and bustle and you're all kind of asses to elbows with each other. And, the Pro Tour, you really get this great experience of good chairs, good table. There's always a judge around, you're really spoiled. And so on the one hand, I can understand how people might have felt like their peace was being disturbed, or if they were coming off of a loss and here's someone with a camera in your face. I get it. But on the other hand, we're trying to take this to the next level. And I think that going forward, this is something more people will need to be aware of.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead. If you ever have the opportunity to go to if you've never been to a Pro Tour and have the opportunity to just look into the room, you gotta, as a Magic player, you have to see what a Pro Tour looks like, because it is so different than everything else.
Yeah.
It is a completely unique atmosphere to everything else. And I imagine Worlds or the World Championships is probably even more unique than that, being a much smaller field. But yeah, the few Pro Tours that I've been to, either as a spectator or part of the press, it is a much different feel. And it is a little bit of a surreal experience when you try to compare it to a Grand Prix. When, Grand Prix is like the step below Pro Tour, and it's that big of a difference. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I would note that, I mean, for what it's worth, making the Magic Show, I wouldn't like sort of ask people to do things or pose or whatever. Normally I'm just there with the camera and I'm smiling, so they're smiling. 90% of the time, most Magic players look totally miserable. It's kind of like we're not smiling. We're like, they're focusing. Look, they're doing the brow thing. They're in there.
If your job is to be smarter than your opponent for 8 hours a day, your face is also going to scowl eventually. Like, it's not all fun and games. Look, it's the same for all games. It's the same for competitive esports. It's the same for poker. It's the same for chess. Everybody gets there. Huey is well known for putting his hands way up here while he's thinking and like doing this kind of action. Everybody's got their thinking face, and most of them aren't super jovial. Like, you put your game face on, you get ready to try to be smarter than people for half the day. And that's exhausting. It's exhilarating, but it's exhausting. And so I get that people don't want cameras in their face, but by the same token, it's a sport now. You gotta let the people who are trying to make you famous be famous.
Yeah. So we're gonna pivot to something that I read, after the fact. I was actually gathering stories for this week, and I came upon a round 15 disqualification. I'll bring it up here on the screen. In round 15, competitor Yao Zile, I believe that's how you say that. I'm Southern. Forgive me if I screwed it up.
Yeah, I was just going to say do it one more time, but this time really draw out the accent.
Yao Zile, Yao. Well, hail fart. Well, anyway, this was weird. Apparently, him and LSV, Luis Scott Vargas, reached the end of extra turns and decided to look at each other's hands and decide who was actually going to win the match had it continued. Okay, now, first of all, this is 100% okay. You can do this because that is not unknown and or random information. This is a thing in your hand. They're not going to change, blah, blah, blah. Well, they couldn't come to a decision. So they actually decided as a draw, and LSV walks away. Well, but part of the negotiations of who would have won, included his opponent, flipping over cards from the top of his library to say, well, I would have drawn X and then Y and then Z, and that's why you would have lost. But whatever, they didn't come to a conclusion and left. Later, the judges somehow got a hold of that information and then later disqualified him, which was cleared up in a Reddit thread later on, which was a strange. First of all, having LSV involved is always going to cause a lot of eyeballs. But secondly, it was really interesting to me that it is not illegal to just show your hand and have your opponent do the same, and you kind of both figure out, well, okay, I'd have lost, scribble and see you later. And that's the thing. That's okay. But you flip over the top card, that is a random determination at that point.
Yeah, it's really weird where Magic rules draw the lines for stuff like this. It's kind of unfortunate. Like, it just the feeling I got from this was that this was kind of a newer player, I would assume, because if they knew the rule, then they wouldn't have done it.
A newer player who qualified for the Pro Tour?
It's
relatively newer to the Pro Tour. I'm saying, look, you can have first-time PTQ winners. You can have people that do this kind of stuff qualified through the regional qualification and don't know this kind of rule. The fact that this is unsporting conduct, it just may never have come up. It's possible that this just never came up in this guy's Magic career. Obviously, it's going to come up in LSV's because he's been playing Magic since the rocks were soft. But this is going to happen sometimes. It just is a bad look. Is my takeaway from this. The fact that this led to a disqualification. If I were a player who was like on the grind trying to qualify for a Pro Tour, this would frighten me. And would not be something that would make me want to qualify for the Pro Tour. Does that make sense?
DQs can crush, some hopes and dreams for sure. But Samuel Eilenfeld, who made top 4.
Eilenfeld, yeah.
Yeah, first Pro Tour.
Sure.
Like, it was great, right? Because they were just like lifetime winnings, 0 on that slide, and it was awesome. And he was like, I'm literally just happy to be here. I'm not trying to be weird about it. I'm just saying. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I ran into him throughout the day, and he was very lovely. He had come up to me, and he was like, I think I know you. We'd seen each other at an event. And even Maria, Maria was really letting her Minnesota flag fly, because during coverage, she was kind of slipping in her, oh, I'm so happy for my boys, her kind of Fargo. She was really letting it out there by her own admission, and she was just so happy to know him. And he then appeared on MTA recently to talk about his experience, and he's just a great guy. Him jumping up and down when he found that he qualified was just gold.
Yeah, he made it by like some crazy percentage point of a percentage point thing, which was amazing. Okay, so the Pro Tour was fun. The Pro Tour was awesome.
Are we not going to talk about how it was 50% energy? Are we not?
Look, here,
Aaron, but guys, 7 different decks made the top 8. That's diverse.
It could be argued. But.
This affinity and that affinity and this other affinity build and this other affinity that uses green. This affinity uses black. And this, this Caw-Blade was black, right? With Caw-Blade with red. Wizards is in this weird position where if they didn't make energy good enough, then it was dumb and they created a whole nother resource that was stupid. Mm-hmm. And if they make it too good, you have half the Pro Tour play with your mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, all of the energy cards are like as good as the rest of the cards, but then also have the energy attached to it. So they're just 10% better than everything that's available. So you're going to block out dinosaurs. You're going to block out pirates. You're going to block out most everything. Although there was the mono white vampires deck.
I was really impressed with that, and I'm not normally a mono white player or an aggro player, but I was really impressed with that deck. Just the way that it was able to take energy to the long game and things like that. It was very cool to watch. And
the green white zoo deck. Also
Brazil, Team Brazil. And it's funny because they didn't even tell me what that deck was, and I was their community manager. Like, all they told me, all Willie described it as was green-white draft cards, and he told me like one card in the deck, and he even made me wait for it. He had been offered a deck tech, and he refused because he wanted to keep it mysterious. And yeah, there were a couple of decks that really surprised me. I also want to talk about how affordable they are for the most part. Pascal's deck is like $150, which is great. It's right up my alley. Most of the decks are kind of in the $225 range, which is $225, $250 range. Which isn't bad for standard, and most of that is wrapped up in one card. Like most of the GPG decks, the cost is revolving around Angel of Invention, and then most of the teamer decks are revolving around Scarab God, obviously.
Our preview
Our preview.
Angel of Invention did work also too. Yeah, I was very excited to see that. Sacred Cat was seeing play, which was my individual preview card. So it's an affordable standard. It seems to be a fun standard for the most part. But yeah, I remember seeing that pie chart of 40-50% energy and just the collective groan of.
Well, there was something that was tweeted out by Oleon Trazi about Attune with Aether has the ability to go search for basic land and provide you 2 energy and deal 2 damage and give something -X. It's like this weird
1/1 or do this or do that.
It does everything. Attune with Aether, this one little dorky green sorcery does everything now.
Yeah.
You were the one, I think, even that said, Evan, that we just can't have 1 mana green ramp anymore, regardless if it's energy ramp, give you a land ramp, mana dorks.
It's not even ramp. It's just lay of the land. It's crazy.
You said that we can't even have that anymore going forward.
Well, you're thinking, Erin, I think what she's saying is that don't think about the land resource. Think about the energy resource.
The energy
resource. For 1 mana to get 2 energy and an ability that actually matters.
Yeah.
It may just be too good. This may be the last time we see something like this.
You start off with a tune to either, and then you go into if you turn one, you tune to either. Yeah, it just gets you started. Your harness lightnings are so big, and turn 2 harness lightnings, and yeah, it's who would have thought that little card could do so much?
It's pretty crazy to actually have an auto pump. It also provides the +1/+1 counter to Long Tusk Cub. It does crazy things. I don't know. I mean, otherwise, in terms of like the meta game of the Pro Tour, that to me was just like, you know what? Energy was either going to suck or do this.
Sure.
I mean, it already broke it with Aetherworks Marvel. Like,
right.
Now it's just about value.
Yeah. Now it's just Jund, basically, in every way, shape, and form. Jund in the traditional sense, not Jund as in the colors. Jund is in the mid-range battle, and then try to take over the game in the late game with some weird card advantage engine, be it Lingering Souls or the Scarab God or whatever.
So, All right. Yeah, so either way, let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. And one of the things to talk about was a really awesome promotion that Wizards of the Coast came up for Black Friday. And I got to hand it to them. And I said it on Twitter. I'll give you the credit. Now, look, I will put the feet to the fire when you show me some stupid-looking trophy. But when you give me an awesome-looking promotion, I'm going to be like, look, bro, you got me right here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You have me wanting to go buy a box of Ixalan on Black Friday because they've created this promotion where a store, depending on their WPN level, will get anywhere from, I think it's 15 to 60 of these packs. There are going to be these treasure chest boosters that you get in addition to buying a box. They contain one alternate art premium foil double face card from Ixalan. So all of the cards that flip over into super cool lands now come with totally different artwork on the back of them. Only found in this pack, only available in this one day. So, first of all, this is amazing for retailers. This is like Wizard wants to support the stores. This is exactly how Wizard supports stores. They help people get money in the bank and help, sell more Magic. That's fantastic. Secondly, it's super exciting to reuse something they already have, which is that playmat for the store championship, to be part of the cards, part of the arts on the back of these cards. So, I'm gonna bring up the Black Friday treasure stuff here, and so, the front of them, looks the same as the other cards. Legion Landing, Search for Escanta, whatever. But you flip them over, and they have these awesome little pieces of the map that, again, you can't find anywhere but these things. But that's not the only thing in these packs. In addition to that double face card with the alternate artwork, you're also going to get 2 premium foil basic lands, the new Rebecca Gay stuff, which is beautiful and awesome, 4 rare or mythic cards from a standard set, and 2 premium foil cards from any standard legal set. That could be mythic anywhere down from common. So you're basically getting a ton of value. This is Wizards saying, hey, we're going to help out the store owners to sell some product. We're going to give you a reason to show up at your local game store. We're going to reward you for it. We're going to give you something you can only find this one day at this one time. That is awesome. Wizards do this some more because it's great. Because it helps everybody involved. It lets you get awesome, unique stuff that's really cool, and it helps the friendly local game store stay in business. Like, this is awesome. This is terrific. I can't say enough good things about it. And
the fact that all of the flip cards are from the map that is done of Ixalan from the playmat that was done by Jared Blando, who's I think this is the only work he's done with Magic the Gathering, just because Magic doesn't use cartography. They don't draw maps. Like, there's no top-down map of anything other than these, which are super cool. Right. And he's done. I know his name from D&D because he does a lot of stuff for Forgotten Realms kind of stuff from D&D. And they're just gorgeous. Like, I love these things. Like, oh man, this so cool. Is convincing me, almost convincing me to go buy a box from a game store. Like, do you understand how far I have to go? They're so gorgeous, and I'm a maps nerd. Like, I love that kind of stuff. But these are just so cool, and they're gonna be Are these gonna be foil?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the backs are gonna be foil. These are gonna be foil maps. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm totally sold on all these.
Erin, does this flood your basement?
No, I'm just disappointed they didn't call it Dak Friday. Like, that would have been so great to somehow get Dak Faden involved and have chests.
The greatest deal in the multiverse.
Thank you. Come on, Wizards.
Yeah.
There's an opening in D&D, and Reuben, you're applying, buddy. You're making this happen.
Look, I am going to apply. I am going to apply for that job. I need some more real world, fake world experience in role playing games before I can expect to get a job like this. But I'll still apply. But yeah, I've seen Jared's work before. If you want to take a look at some of his stuff, he's the Red Epic on Twitter. At the Red Epic, I think is his. I mean, if you search the Red Epic, I'm sure you can find him.
Is that one word?
Yeah, that would be his Twitter handles. It's probably the Red Epic Art.
His name is
the
Jared?
Red Epic. Yeah, Jared Blando.
Oh, I don't have him blocked. That's a good sign.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of Patreon stuff in the past, or Kickstarter stuff in the past to be like, hey, I'm drawing RPG maps and stuff like that. So a platform, not just with the map of Ixalan, but for him to get on, what is this, 24 cards, promotional cards, is a big deal.
it's pretty awesome. So for depending on your WPN level, the core stores will get 15 packs, advanced will get 30, and advanced plus will get 60. So if you have a huge store, you'll probably have plenty there. But again, I think these things are going to go flying off the shelves. I asked earlier today, what do people think they're going to be worth? Generally, it's like $15 is sort of where we're starting, and then you only go up from there, because if the pack is sealed, you don't know what's in there, obviously, and there's a whole bunch of foils, and it could be any one of those. Even if you open the green flip land or the blue flip land, honestly, probably all of them but the black one. But even the black one's going to be worth something. All these things are going to be really awesome and collectible. They're going to be hard to find, and that's terrific. That's the exact sort of mixture that gets people excited and creates really high value stuff that that people will look forward to.
Exactly right.
So that's awesome. That's terrific. So next up, I want to take a look at the From the Vault Transform. Wizards unveiled the list for From the Vault Transform. Now, at least I was worried. I was like, I don't see a lot of money here, guys. And they showed the front of the box, and I'm pretty sure they were just kind of trolling us a little bit because, they wanted everybody to kind of crap on it and be like, lol, JK, full of money, and like everyone flip out.
Turns out they just pumped this thing full of dollars.
Well, first you have the Huntmaster of the Fells / Ravager of the Fells flip card from Magali Villanov. Is that right?
Villanueva.
How dare you?
Now I don't know how to say anything. All right, well.
Magali, though, I can't with her in this art. Just when I think she can't, go any higher or do any better, she just oh my god, I love everything she does. I can't stand it.
She's crazy.
This is a little bit out of her comfort zone too.
Yeah.
This is like a different style. Usually she's very first of all, it's a much closer angle. She's much more into the detail of the faces, less into the backgrounds. But this one, she's much more. First of all, there's 2 focal points plus the epic background, and there's 2 pieces also with the back. So yeah, well done as per usual.
Well, and
the game.
They gave us brand new artwork for Garrick Relentless. I don't think anybody saw that one coming.
The Vorthoses, I love following them. They've mentioned that I guess there has either been none or few pieces where Garrick has not had his helmet on. So this is very noteworthy that he's completely hatless in this one. He is on the bad side, but on terms of the other one, I guess that was very noteworthy. So shout out to the Vorthoses for bringing that up.
You're right. That is rare.
This is the Garrick that had his axe in this Garrick Relentless art. It looks most like the axe that they gave away, the foam axe from where was that from?
The San Diego Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
Yeah.
This axe looks the most like that promotion, which I like. Also, I'm a huge Garrick Relentless fan. I think that card's great. I've played it in Legacy before. Card's amazing.
Well, and of course we have amazing new artwork for Delver of Secrets. We got to see the back of it into the Insectollar Aberration, which also looks amazing. But then we kept going.
I was incorrect last week in my artist prediction in who I thought drew the art. So I'll apologize to, what is this? Louis Lanandidio?
Good job, buddy. Way to make it happen.
Villanove.
Villanueve. Yeah. I got
apologies for misidentifying the artist.
So, but when you scroll down, first of all, everyone was like, "There's no way they're printing Avacyn." They printed Archangel Avacyn. That's amazing. And then they put in Arguel's Bloodfast.
Yeah, Argel.
Argel's?
Like Miguel. It's like Argel.
Argel, okay. Argel's Bloodfast, Southern. Is for whatever reason in this thing, I don't get it. It makes no sense. I think it weighs out the colors the right way. Whatever. Okay. Arlen Cord is here. That's pretty cool. But great. Bloodline Keeper was another huge
$17 right now. Why?
Yes, because it does everything you want it to do in a super cool casual deck. So there's the money. The Gisela and Bruna, the Brangelina of Magic showing up.
That's a cool one. I like that one because
I think
they had to put Meld into the set, I think, in some way, and they had, and I didn't realize that they had to do it, but this is really kind of perfect.
It's also just such a pivotal moment too. The fact that we have an Eldrazi angel, just sort of the, we've seen everything else the Eldrazi have thrown at us. We've seen every tentacled horror, every vampire with a shell on its head, but this was really the shock value of that set. Of not only are these two beloved characters just warped and gone beyond reproach, but they're also something really, really horrifying. And I think that was very fitting that they were included.
Oh my God, it was amazing. It still is amazing, and really, really flavorful. But then they dropped the bomb. Well, first of all, Elbrus the Binding Blade instead of the land, whichever the land turns into the monster. Westvale Abbey. Thank you. Which is whatever. Elbrus the Binding Blade with Angar Unbound. Who cares? But all 5 Origins Planeswalkers, including Jace Vryn's sack of cash. Yes. All of them are there. That is super, super cool. Jace is in this set, which means it is now worth infinitely more money than before Jace was in this set. That's great. No, seriously, they packed dollars in this thing. Literally a week ago, we were making fun of how bad this thing was going to be. It was going to transform your $100 into $40 or whatever. No. It is all there. The value is there, and I think kudos to Wizards. Honestly, I do think they showed that first image to just be like, all right, what you think? What you think now? What do you think? I want to see these 3 face cards. And then we show you like Avacyn and Bloodline Keeper and then all the sweet Origins Planeswalkers. Yeah.
This is the best from the vault in recent memory. I mean, the previous to this we had Lore, Angels, Annihilation, and I guess from the vault 20 was fine.
From the vault 20 was dollars. From the vault 20 was some pretty good dollar bills.
And then we had Realms, which was also pretty good. But Transform's the best one in a long time.
Yeah, from the vault Lore showed up and
I think that they realized that the From the Vault series. I mean, we'd been talking about previously when From the Vaults had come out, and we were like, "This is pretty mediocre." And then that would be a thing. Like every, not 9 months to a year, every once in a while, it would be like, "New From the Vault showed up, pretty bad."
And does it suck? Yeah, pretty bad. Pretty much.
This one's pretty darn good. I mean, I know a couple of people were saying, "Oh, why aren't there more cards with new art?" Well, they had to commission twice the new art for the cards that they did commission. So there's 6 pieces of new art in this set across the 3 cards, which I'm cool with. Yeah. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I feel like they did a great job here. It was awesome. Yeah. From the Vault did exactly what you wanted to do. It's going to, again, it helps out the local game stores. It's one of those things where it's like, it has an MSRP, but everyone knows that MSRP is kind of silly and it's worth way more. And that's a good thing. The
manufacturer's suggested retail price.
Oh, it's
not
suggested.
Mandatory. That's just suggested.
Well, we're giving away a set of Explorers of Ixalan. And this week they unveiled all the cards in it, all the deck lists for Explorers of Ixalan. And we've already talked about the really super cool rares that are in it. Some of them have been worth $20 plus or whatever, Shared Animosity, and just some really strange ones. But they also showed off new art, brand new artwork for Blatant Thievery, Crumbling Necropolis, Jungle Barrier, Merfolk Sovereign, Mass Mutiny, Jungle Shrine, Prey Upon, a Sapperling Token, and man, have you seen that?
Zealous Persecution.
That Zealous Persecution is on fire.
I did not know that these cards were not standard legal. When I first saw this, I got very excited at the idea of Zealous Persecution and standard, and I think you were nice enough to explain, Evan, that no, these are not standard legal, but I wanted it to be solely because of that art. That art is fantastic. I still don't even know what's going on in the original Zealous Persecution. I'm like, are they at a rave and someone's like putting a spotlight on people? Like, what's going on there?
They're in the middle, they're mid-ounce, and they're like, what's this? What? I don't. But this one, no. These guys are going to eat you as they persecute you. Your vile blood will help fulfill our righteous cause.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice. So, I'm excited to play this game. I know we talked about it a little bit before, but I just wanted to say it again, that I actually think that I would enjoy this weird amalgam of Magic plus Settlers of Catan that they invented. I think it's a really creative way to make multiplayer Magic in a completely new and different way. And so I'm kind of excited to play this set, not just for the promotional cards, which a lot of these products, the big draw for Magic players is, new art, Blatant Thievery. Like, obviously that's a big deal. Shared Animosity getting reprinted for the first time since Morningtide. That's a big deal. But I'm actually excited to play this game, honestly.
I mean, the game is trying to bridge that gap. Like, Do you? Okay, so Reuben, I believe you've played many a board game in your time. Obviously, you've role-played game, which is great too. Erin,
sure.
Do you feel a lot of this sort of board game love here? Do you feel like this is an interesting aspect?
I'm definitely open to the idea. I just don't usually have we don't really have a big board game community where I live that I'm aware of. And a lot of the games that I would want to play require more than like 2 people. But I'm interested in this set. I'm certainly open to the idea of playing this as a board game, but I also want to go back to some of the reprints. Necropolis Regent is a $5 card somehow.
Wow. Okay,
right?
Sure. Why not?
So that is in the Legion of Dusk set. There's some really, really neat cards here that have been kind of crying out for reprints. And so I'm excited to see, that too. And that's really what I'm excited about the most. But yeah, I'm also open to the idea of playing this if I can find enough people. And yeah.
I feel like they've really packed the value in this thing. And it's weird because in some ways, I think there really is product fatigue. Like there's a new Magic thing every Friday for the next like 3 or 4 weeks, like halfway through December. There's Merfolk versus Goblins this week, and then there's Explorers of Ixalan, and then there's From the Vault, and then there's going to be Unstable, and then it's like, Christmas showed up. And that's a lot of stuff. And so I think Wizards is really testing the waters as to how many products can we make before something stops performing, I guess is a way to put it. They made this product, made sure we put some money in it. We made that product, they made that deck, that dual deck. It doesn't suck this time. We didn't put Storm in Walmart. All right, got it. You know what I mean? Like different things they're trying to see what's going on.
Fine. Storm in Walmart was fine.
Was the dumbest thing I've seen them do in a long time.
Can we talk about? I don't know if this is too late to talk about this, and this wasn't actually on the document. But do you remember there was a bit of a kerfuffle a couple weeks ago because Wizards was going out of their way to promote the big box stores, and somebody was like, "Shouldn't you be promoting local game stores instead of telling people to go to Target and go to Kmart when you could do?" There was a bit of a fuss around that, and I thought that was fascinating. Yeah.
Well, they sort of did that with these treasure chests. I'll tell you what. They're not giving these crazy treasure chest boxes to Walmart and Target, are they?
Nope.
No.
Only those in the
and this is a nice sort of, running it back. But I remember at the time, though, there were some very passionate folks on Twitter that were like, wait a minute, girl. Yeah. Like, we're the ones hosting your events. We're the one doing all this. And you're sending people to Kmart? Like, get out of here.
You're not wrong.
And I can see it both ways. In one side, yes, the local game store would love to have all the love. But second, the other half is, if that makes more people play Magic, if that gets more people to buy Magic and be involved in Magic and collect Magic and sell Magic and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Overall, the rising tide's, making all the boats move. And Wizards is able to really put the shot in the arm. Again, I think the treasure chest, if anyone still had any animosity over, how dare you promote the big boxes? No, they're doing just fine because they're going to sell their boxes thanks to those packs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is
and again back to this. If you're looking for just value out of Explorers of Ixalan, you're gonna get it. There's a Quicksilver amulet in this thing. They reprinted another copy of Path to Exile and Lightning Helix for you. There's an Aggravated Assault. There's the Time Warp that we saw earlier. Boy, there's a lot of stuff in these decks.
Yeah, there's lots and lots. But speaking of decks, every once in a while, something so weird and silly shows up that you can't not look at it and just like in awe of what happened. And
before we go into this segment, do we still have the overlay for the O2 drop?
Yeah.
Because we haven't used that in like a year, and this is like the perfect opportunity.
Wow. Okay, well, you'll have to give me just a second, but I think I can pull it up.
It's fine.
All right, it's fine.
Meanwhile, what we're talking about.
Let me just pull up the deck list right here. Okay, so on MTG Goldfish, they said check out this 5-0 list from a standard league. I'm bringing it up right now. They just call it blue, black, red, green. I would call it stuff I found in my binder because it literally looks like stuff this person found in their binder. It runs 3 Star of Extinction. That's amazing. This is some weird, crazy ramp to Sandworm convergence.
Spring to Mind.
Does anybody know what Wild Wanderer does without looking it up? Like, seriously? It's beautiful.
I'll tell you.
And it's great. Wow. And it's just so random, and there's not a 4 of other than Rootbound Crag and Gift of Paradise and Duress in the sideboard and the whole deck. It's just 2 Glory Bringers and 1 Torment of Hellfire because
this deck
reasons?
looks like somebody. You know what this deck looks like? Do you remember when you were a kid and you would have to do that thing before a race where you would lay a baseball bat down the long way and you'd stick your forehead on the bat and spin around in a circle and then try to walk a straight line? Yeah, this is the deck that resulted from that. Like,
right, this is when you did that, but then you had to build a deck right afterwards, and he's just like pulling cards from the binders and places and throwing stuff together, and somehow it worked. And then there's people who are trying to be like, well, strategically they must have never played X deck or Y deck. I'm like, it doesn't matter about what the metagame says about this deck. It matters that someone got blown out, and I mean like out of the water by cruel reality, and they're like, what does that card do again? Oh yeah, I'm dead because everything dies, and then I start losing life. I don't know what's happening, and then an hour devastation shows up, and then they starve extinction to one of my lands, and I hate life.
Sunset Pyramid in the sideboard. What matchup are you bringing that in for?
You can't ask questions like that. It's like, when do you bring in the 1 Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh? You can't do that.
You'll know it
when you look at this deck.
You'll know it when you see it.
When you look at this deck is rub your palms into your eyes until you start seeing molecules, and then stare at the deck list and enjoy the high. Yeah, that's all you can do is chase the dragon with this.
Shout out to that one sifter worm.
Like, I think I can understand why there was hype about this. Like I said, we did come off of what appeared to be a stale meta. When you hear that 40% of the metagame is energy, something like this feels like a breath of fresh air. And so I get it. I get it completely.
So I want to actually talk about what this deck is doing, because this deck is actually doing something interesting.
It's ramping.
Which is it's depending on exactly. It's a ramp deck. It's a 5-color ramp deck, which no one has really explored too much because energy is just so good at doing what it does. But this is able to go over the top of that.
You're also in a format with Ramonap Red to where you might be dead before you're even able to get to your end game.
Which is why Gift of Paradise is so good. It's the 4 of the deck, because it not only gains you the life, giving you probably an extra turn against red, but it also ramps you to the 5 mana. And a lot of the big choke points in this deck are 5 mana. You get to play your Hour, either Promise or Devastation, or you get to play your Glory Bringer, which will also help you control the board. Those 3 spells, like you're able to wrestle control away of games. This deck is a control deck that will punish a bad draw, is the other thing. And so, it looks ridiculous, and it is ridiculous. But on some level, I'm not totally surprised.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, first of all, shout out to the 1 Scorpion God, shout out to the 1 Sifter Worm main deck. Oh, baby. Do you even know what Arborback Stomper does without looking that one up?
I know that one.
Your 5 mana 5/4s?
That one's almost Thragtusk.
Not quite, but whatever.
Not quite Thragtusk.
But you got that red matchup, right? Got to do something about it.
Shout out to the 1 Struggle to Survive. That's a delight.
The whole deck could be called
Desert
Struggle to Survive.
Of the Indomitable. Yeah, the whole deck is. Well, first of all, this should be called Glint Eye Control. Shout out to the Nephilims.
I like that.
Or Glint Eye Ramp, if you prefer.
Sure.
All right, that's what we're calling it, because these Uberg naming conventions aren't gonna cut it.
The real shout out is to username _ShipItNugs. Okay.
I've seen that name before.
Oh, ShipItNugs, baby. Oh my God. I just, the whole thing. It's just one of those. It's unique and it's wonderful and it's weird and it's silly.
It brings a smile to my face, that's for sure.
It's a thing that makes me love Magic, and that's why we're talking about it. So that's nothing like a random pile of cards. Okay, so we talked about something silly. Now we're going to talk about the exact opposite of that.
No.
We're talking about something
silly on some level.
Yeah, well, look at this point. Let me just give you some frames here. The first thing we're talking about is a locked thread on Reddit. Okay. This thread was locked. I don't even know if you can find it without knowing the exact link, because I got a link before all this went down. But
Thread is locked. It was made by those who are dead.
So here's what happened. The SCG regional stuff happened, and there was one in California, as I understand it, was attended by one Mr. Alex Bertoncini. Was won by Mr. Alex Bertoncini. He happens to have been banned twice. He happens to have a lot of stories, a lot of evidence, a lot of history, a whole meme of two explorers, a whole amount of drama that happened around the Star City Games stuff for a long time. when he came, when he went, another X years added to him, yada, yada. So the question was, everyone deserves second chances. He had one of those. And then he was banned again. You know, this is Wizards' sandbox. That Wizards gets to say who comes in the playground, who comes in the sandbox, who can't. They have gotten rid of people lifetime for reasons outside the game. And Alex, in and of himself, you know, has done things that just make him like shady pie. Like the boy is just a big slice of shady pie. You gotta, I mean, just imagine sitting down across from in a game that matters. You know, a day 2 GP match or a top 8 GP. You know, the winner makes top 8 against Alex. I mean, I can't imagine a world where I'm in it and I don't go like, Judge, I literally need you to sit right there. I cannot feel comfortable unless I literally have someone right there the whole time. Is that what is that? You know, I mean, like he's obviously been away, and he's came back. And here was the problem with Alex. Okay, for those who don't know, Alex Bertoncini was basically a ridiculous big time cheater, and he honestly got busted mainly because video coverage showed up. Right. Video coverage showed up, which means you can go back to replays, which means you can go back and see stuff over and over again, and so on and so forth. And but here was the problem. Alex is a good Magic player, but Alex is a good Magic player who pushed his percentages into unbelievable levels because he was cheating. So right. You have someone who has skill, but, you know, Magic's about luck and the skill, and if you're controlling that luck by doing things you shouldn't have, well, then you're going to start to get a lot of rewards out of it. And at that point, you become, well, this person's a thief. In that they're taking away legitimate wins from other people. They're taking away legitimate prizes from other people. Even he won the Star City Games Invitational, and it was too late to take back the Power 9 that came along with it, but the $10,000 check went to charity because he was banned in the middle of it. And this came from an article from Drew Levin that was posted on Ted Knutson's blog, you know, really clearly detailing, you know, everyone had a Bertoncini story. Bertoncini and even Drew Levin had a weird interaction. And then there was stuff from video you could start to point out. You know, at which point is enough? At which point are you just not comfortable? Because people have been banned before. Saito had suspensions. Bob Maher, the great one, has had a suspension. But, you know, I feel like, you know, those people have tried honestly to do things well and proper. Whereas it always felt like Alex was just kind of thumbing his nose the whole time, and right. and here we are.
Boy, yeah. Is this a touchy issue, and it's not surprising that the thread got locked immediately.
Yeah.
And by immediately, I mean there's still a billion comments on this Reddit thread. I don't know how everybody called their friends and parents and said, everybody get in here real quick before this thing gets locked. Yeah, I mean, look, this is a weird issue that comes up every once in a while, and we're gonna, you know what? Everybody set their clocks for 365 days from now, when Trevor Humphreys gets unbanned next year. Oh my God! Underground Dojo Keyboard Cage Fighters himself gets unsuspended next year, and we're gonna have the same conversation again. Alex Bertoncini is, let's be very clear here, is not the most ridiculous cheater in the history of Magic. Sure. That honor still belongs to Mike Long. The thing that Alex Bertoncini has going for him is that there's a lot more video proof of Alex Bertoncini's infractions and history with skirting the rules. So to allow him back into the game certainly is not good. It's not good for the game. If you are allowing him to play in your StarCityGames.com regional events and your Wizards of the Coast sanctioned Grand Prix, and he sits down across from a player who's never played in a competitive REL event in their life, they're going to get eaten alive by the little edges that people like Alex are capable of. Now, I'm not saying that Alex hasn't learned, but you know what? Once is a coincidence, twice is a trend, and so now this is his third time back. So we'll see how he does. If he doesn't do anything and he is a reformed criminal in the eyes of the DCI, then you know what? Good for him. And I'm glad that he is a reformed, upstanding member of society. But until he gives us that burden of proof, then you know what? We're going to keep both eyes on him. and not just the judges, because unfortunately the way that the rules are written, the judges can't give him specific attention. The IPG says that you cannot and should not consider past history when approaching any player or specific judge call, which is unfortunate. I think it actually hampers judges from doing their job. I think that there probably should be some amount of parole that follows a player around after they get back from a suspension. You know, you get out of DCI jail, you still got to check in with your parole officer. You still got to, be watched by judges specifically when you do stuff. He was a really good player. He was a solid PTQ grinder without the cheating.
Right.
He was a solid SCG. He's a talented Magic player. He's a very talented kid. The problem is the other stuff. And so, he obviously, I don't think that he's ever going to get to the levels of best player historically, or one of maybe the two best players historically in the history of the old SCG Open series, without the things that he did.
Right.
And so, and that's going to follow him around for the rest of his life. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what comes of it. But it certainly doesn't feel right that he gets released from his suspension and then immediately wins a regionals. It just feels weird.
Erin?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. And during the pre-show, I was really trying to establish a timeline here, because I remember that I knew that he had been banned for cheating, but I remembered there being an instance of him doing some kind of trolling where he was piggybacking a stream of an open and then insulting people that were on camera. And if I understand it correctly, he was banned when that happened, and then his ban had been extended because of that behavior as well. And, I've said it before a number of times on the show, I've certainly made mistakes as a person. I think we all have to varying degrees, but and nobody expects you to be perfect. I don't expect you to be perfect, but there needs to be some sort of growth. There needs to be some sort of progress being made there. And if Jared Betcher comes back when his ban is done and he has shown some sort of growth and some sort of introspection, and he doesn't make the same mistakes again, I'm more than willing to give him a try. I'm even willing to let the keyboard dojo guy have a try, as long as they can show that some sort of growth has happened. But if you've already had a ban for this and even two bans for this, at that point I don't have a lot of love for you. And at that point I don't really know if I can bother with you. And even from just seeing his behavior since he's been back, he doesn't seem to be behaving or treading the way that somebody who's been through the things he has been. There's still that same amount of hubris from him. That's the word, right? Hubris.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been around for Evan too long. I can't pronounce things, but
wow.
You just but you just don't get the humility from him that I would expect from somebody who has made mistakes. He still seems to come to events with this sort of bravado of really? You're not even going to humble yourself a little bit, and all of that just leads to I can't really be bothered with you. So
I'm reminded, though, of specifically of Major League Baseball's steroids policy, which obviously it's baseball. They have a 3 strikes and you're out policy, where you get a short suspension the first time you're caught having done steroids, then a longer suspension the second time, and then you're out of baseball the third time you get caught.
Mm-hmm.
I am willing to give that a shot with Alex. I'm willing to allow him to try to redeem himself. Because lifetime bans in Magic the Gathering are no joke. I mean, if you go look up who's lifetime banned from Magic the Gathering, it's violent incidents and things that are much more serious than the thievery that we're talking about, which is bad, but you don't go to jail for life or get the electric chair for stealing, right? So if he is willing and able to show us, to prove to us, because the burden of proof is on him, right? So if he's willing to and able to show us that he is a Magic player who has reformed himself and is willing to play the way that we expect all of our opponents and friends to play Magic the Gathering, I am willing for him to try to be a redemptive figure.
I feel like if the question is if you get banned 3 times, GG.
Look, man, I don't know what to do with that, though, because, again, lifetime bans are super serious in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, well, I mean, again, this is, to me, is part of the sandbox. Who do you want playing your game? The person who's been banned over and over and over and over again because they kept cheating over and over and over again? we're just talking about a game, just to put a little perspective here. There's a million games they could play. You could go play Hearthstone. They don't let you cheat there, so maybe that's a thing. I don't know, but that sucks because that's it's going to follow him around. Because again, good Magic player, push too hard. Maybe there's some maturity there. Maybe there's some things that have changed. But sure. If the other question is, look, if you get caught cheating 3 times, we don't want you to play our game sanctioned anymore. You can still play the game however you want at home on your kitchen table. You just can't do it for cash and prizes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
there's no easy answers.
There's no easy answers is exactly right. I think that suspension number 1 was 6 months, I believe. Suspension number 2 was 2 years, extended to 3 years for the chat stuff that he did. Next suspension is going to be 7 years by the time he's 35. If he gets, so like you can keep extending it longer without it being a lifetime thing. And again, we're going to face this issue again pretty much every 6 months to a year when the new DCI banned and restricted folks list comes out. And I can't wait for Underground Dojo Keyboard Cage Fighters anniversary next year. I'm really looking forward to that one.
All I'm saying is, just my final thought on this is that while the judges can't look at or think about historical behavior, the players almost do nothing but.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what I'm thinking about.
And let's be completely honest. We as a community, we live for that. Let's call it like it is. We live for, the guys like him and the Underground Keyboard Dojo. I think, and on the one hand, I don't blame him for kind of leaning into that and being like, hey, if this is what you want, if this is what gets you off, let's just give you what you want. I'll be your heel. I'll be your bad guy. Like it's fascinating.
Yeah, there's like a real difference though between a heel and like an actual bad guy, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, we've seen redemptive stories in the past. We've obviously Bob Marr is the best example, having come back from a suspension. Guillaume Mantignon just made the Pro Tour top 8 this past weekend. He was suspended for the God Book incident with the other Guillaume Wafo Tapa, who's in the Hall of Fame now. I mean, you're able to recover from, and then Tomoharu Saito obviously went through did his time and has been a huge figure in Japanese Magic. Hasn't been totally forgiven for his crimes, but there is room, there is a window here for something good to come of this, and I hope beyond hope that that's what results from this is a good outcome rather than us saying, guess who's in trouble again in a couple of weeks.
Right. I mean, the other half is, sort of what the infraction is. Like, Wafo Tapa and or Guillaume Matignon about the God Book thing, that wasn't cheating. Like, that was dumb, but it wasn't cheating. It was just cheating. It was just dumb. But, like, they didn't actually actively, in an event, try to take something from someone else or try to take an advantage that they didn't have any right to. They just did something stupid. But, whatever. All right, so... let's move on here to something a little silly before we leave. I wanted to bring this up because it struck me so weird. I didn't really know what to do with it, but we're starting to get into unstable previews soon. We know what our unstable preview card is. We're working on exactly when that's going to show up, but and I can tell you from
don't bury the lead there, folks. We have an unstable preview.
We do.
We're gonna give it to you at some point, but we won't tell you.
And I'm going to add some. I'm going to double down on your tea, Reuben. So some behind the scenes tea for y'all.
Uh-oh.
So can I talk about what we had to do to get the preview card? That's not off limits, right?
No, I mean, I guess not. I don't know.
We'll find out.
Look, we had to get into an unmarked van, drive down to the docks.
No, but this was
met some shady individuals.
No, but this was the first card that we had to sort of, we had to demonstrate how we were going to, so they wanted to do something a little different with Unglue. They wanted to make sure that all of our reveals were like kitschy and fun. They didn't want us to just do the usual, like, here's a deck list and we're
Oh, straight taters.
Oh no, rats.
I'm tatering?
Yeah, you tater.
Yeah. Well, there, now you're back.
You're back.
I'm at home. I'm on Wi-Fi. How am I tatering?
I sent it to your house.
Whatever. But anyways, so the bottom line is they made us essentially audition for these cards, and we really didn't participate in the audition, so we weren't expecting to get a card, and then we did get one. So we're just as surprised as anybody, and it's a really good card. Like, this is like constructed playable.
It's fun to see cards that, and even with Gathering Magic has one, and I think it's brilliant, and and something my managing editor is going to do some really unique, cool stuff with it to preview it. But there's stuff that they do in these sets that 100% could happen in Black Border, and I love that. I think that's really cool.
I think, and our card, first of all, the things that they're doing with Unstable and making it like a playable, draftable format is super cool. Mm-hmm. And our card, I mean, I'd be surprised to see it in constructed, but it could conceivably be printed in a set.
It could
see play, as opposed to some of the previous, which are like Denim Walk, right? Like that can't be a thing. But yeah, ours is super cool.
So anyway, talking about Unstable on Blogatog, again, one of the most crazy things I've ever seen, because Mark Rosewater is an absolute machine and somehow answers a billion questions while also doing his podcast and doing a comic strip and doing the ranking thing every day and every other million things he does, because he's great. That said, someone said, are contraptions, as they appear in Unstable, something you could consider printing in Black Border one day, or are they too wacky for that? And he says, contraptions...
Stop, Evan, please. We have to ask Mark Rosewater.
Mark, how did you answer this question?
It's the question being about contraptions. All right.
Right.
Contraptions are very much us exploring the potential future for Magic. It's a much shorter answer than I'm used to.
Can I just say that every time I was watching the Pro Tour coverage when I wasn't at work, and sometimes even when I was, and whenever Morrow's arena ad would come on, chat was always like, what is going on? Like, because he's just so energy. And there were a couple, like, there's the one emote of, like, the horrified face. And it was just being spammed because people were like, okay, Morrow, we get you.
We got it. We got it. So, contraptions are them exploring potential for Magic. No one knows what they are, at least outside of Wizards, of course. I'm not exactly sure. I've seen some weird things. Now, they were talking about one of the things that Mark talked about in his first Unstable article about he talked about this thing's been designed for like 10 years or something crazy. Was that they talked about the technology. What technology could they do or could they use that they didn't have years ago? Things like collation, guaranteeing that card A, card B will be together. And one of the things that I've seen in another game, I can't remember, I believe it was Force of Will, but one of the things I saw in Force of Will is a card, one card here, another card here, stuck together and folded flat. And you could unfold them into a different card, or this had a side and that had a side, and the inside opened up to its own card. And now, for what it's worth, it looked really like it looked like it could be easily damaged, like it would almost immediately become slightly played. But that was a thing, and I was just like, bakoosh! And I meant to post on Twitter, but now that I never did. Now I get around to talking about it. But the point is, I was like, wow, this is really crazy. And no one's ever done this I've ever seen in a card game before. But maybe they do something like that to assemble the contraption, is to open it and, add it somewhere. Yeah. Maybe there's a 3D element.
So here's the church. Here's the steeple.
And then?
And you look inside and you see all the people. Right? Is that what you're saying? That's us exploring a potential future for Magic, which, by the way, that's my favorite sentence. Like, what does that even mean? It's very much us exploring a potential future. Like, we're not on a date. This is like we're not visiting colleges. Like, I don't understand what this sentence is doing on Blogatog.
What are we doing? What does it mean?
It's a super weird foreshadowing. This is like a Blade Runner future. It's like we're exploring the future together. It's like, what is happening?
Contraptions
that
are
like the
replicants.
Guy you have a really, really great time with, but like he just kind of rolls over and is like,
right.
I can't.
Well, you explored potentials and it didn't work out, as it turns out.
So how do you see, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years if you get hired at our company? Well, it's very much me exploring a potential future with this company.
Also assembling contraptions in this company.
People out of my head.
It's terrific. Reuben,
good, right?
It's like you do this for a living sometimes.
It's almost like I do it for a living.
Almost. So we'll move on here. Let's go ahead and pick a winner of our giveaway. I've actually made a big thing of it, so don't forget anymore.
Good job.
I know, right? Good me. Yeah, I'm a good guy.
Yay.
However, a set of Explorers of Ixalan, a $65 product, 4 decks, an entire board game component. Congratulations to Michael P. from Sacramento, California.
Nice.
I'm actually able to send you a set, which is nice. But, we appreciate you participating in the show and the giveaways, and I'll be contacting you soon to get you that on release date. I can't get you to that beforehand, of course, but we'll ship it out on the day it releases. I believe that's a week from Friday. And so you will have that, and that's going to be super cool. So
very nice.
Fantastic. So with that said, we are going to turn the corner to the finisher. Yesterday was Election Day in Virginia, New Jersey, North Carolina, and a few other states. And it's also the first anniversary of the election of President Donald J. Trump. And while
Happy anniversary, everyone.
And while it's been a year, it only feels like an eternity. And that means it's only another 12 months until the midterm elections. So fellow co-hosts and potential candidates, what platform will you be running on in 2018? Erin?
Well, with Danica Rom's victory in Virginia, Andrea Jenkins' victory in Minneapolis, and several other big wins for trans folks in state elections all across the country yesterday, I am proud to be announcing my candidacy to run against another old boys club of white men whose time has come as the new main host of Magic Mike's. Make Magic Mike's great again.
Wait a second.
But
does that mean that
we're taking over? We want it all.
Oh my God!
I don't like this. I'm not sure I'm okay with this.
we got to make a bathroom bill or something. We'll figure it out. It'll be great.
Hashtag trans mafia.
Reuben?
Well, I say that it's time for us, the people, to take the power away from the bigwigs up in Washington State at Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
It's time to open the floodgates, all right? It's time to unban Rite of Flame, unban Seething Song, unban Ponder and Preordain and Chromox and Gataxian Probe. People, a storm is coming, my friends. Down with the bourgeoisie. Raise that proletariat, my fellow magicians. It's time to seize the means of mana production.
Amen.
Preach it. Preach
My
it.
communist manifesto.
Oh my God. So 50% of the day 2 decks of Pro Tour Ixalan were versions of Energy. That's 50%. That rate is too dang high. Aetherworks Marvel was innocent. It paid for the crimes of others, and Aether Hub has too much sway over the metagame in Congress. It's time to ban a tune with Aether from Standard and drain the swamp, and the island, and the forest, and the mountain. That's what we're doing here.
Man.
And that ends another episode of Magic Mike's.
I think we can all get elected. I think we
got this. Thank you for joining us to talk all things Magic. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Reuben.
Thank you.
And we're going to move on to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, our Patreon supporters, of course, and co-hosts Erin Campbell and Reuben Wrestlers. You guys for watching. Hope you support us there. Visit our website at MagicMikesPodcast.com that exists thanks to our Patreon supporters. Or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv/MagicMikes, on Twitter at MagicMikesCast, on Reddit at reddit.com/r/MagicMikes, on Facebook at Facebook.com/MagicMikes. Talk to us privately at MagicMikesPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMikesPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here not quite next week because I'm going to be at PAX Unplugged. But
okay, so no next week.
But we'll have a top 10 next week.
Yes.
It'll be
and
great.
Our preview card will be part of the top 10.
We don't know that yet, but we'll talk about it. That said,
but there won't be a Wednesday show next week.
There won't be a Wednesday.
I get to go play Legacy.
I'm sorry we have to do this over the final slide. Sometimes it sucks. However,
whatever.
Then, after that week, the week after, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mike's. Good night, everybody. we try. We try.
Make Magic Mike's again.
If we just would. So much travel. You guys are great. Thanks for watching.